This weekend, I was strolling around Tokyo when all of a sudden, a group of British people come out of nowhere. They're like, hey, I saw you in that documentary that just came out about looksmaxxing. And I was like, yeah, I was that guy.
I saw you on TV last night.
New Bran Flakes. Bold new taste. Bran Flake.
But now, it made me realize I've not actually talked really about this documentary on my YouTube. I have not done a response to my opinion on the documentary because I'm pretty strongly opinionated with how they kind of portrayed me, looksmaxxing, all of it in this documentary. But for copyright reasons, I cannot actually clip their clips into this so that I can still get monetized. So I'm just going to talk about it. If you got any questions, go watch it yourselves. If you are not in the UK, just throw on a VPN like NordVPN, something like that. It's like a couple bucks a month. And then you're automatically in the UK and you can watch it for free. First things first, we got to recognize the lack of decent reporting. Ben, I'm going to criticize you for a moment. The black pill and looksmaxxing, like I mentioned throughout the questions in the documentary, they're not the same. You cannot say that looksmaxxing is the same as the black pill. The black pill is the set of beliefs that pretty much looks is the only thing that matters, nothing else matters, and as long as you're handsome, then your life is set. And I've always agreed to this in the sense that looks is going to be the most important thing, but it's not the only thing. You still gotta have money, charisma, height, literally everything else. You can't just have the looks. You're not just going to be fully set based off of that alone. So that is the first error that my guy got with this documentary. Something else I was actually a little upset about was right when the documentary came out, I was on the face of the thumbnail doing this thing, which I've always only done as a joke, ironically, trying to make it look like I'm more of like the dark side of the looksmaxxing, but they changed the thumbnail. But initially, I found that to be a bit disrespectful. But we do need to talk about something, guys, and this is pretty much the modern incel. So, looksmaxxing, black pill aside, 80% of men these days, they are struggling with getting girls. They are struggling with getting dates. Ever since Tinder was introduced over 10 years ago, the amount of incels has actually tripled, which is pretty crazy. Now, the reason for this is obviously because girls are only selecting guys based off their looks these days. They're going onto all these apps. 50% of relationships begin from the app, so don't just say it's a hookup thing, but 50% of relationships, girls are on here, and 90% of these girls will only select a guy who is over 6 feet tall. The majority of these girls are not attracted to the majority of these male profiles. They're only attracted to roughly 10% of the profiles. So the competition is fierce, and yes, looks matter now more than ever before throughout history. But this group of men, like you go through all the comments section on this new documentary and it's like these people don't even realize the type of pain that these men are going through these days, and instead of actually showing support, being like, oh, you could do this, you could actually improve upon this and work on mental health, blah, blah, blah. No. Everyone is just criticizing every single person in this documentary, including my own subscribers, which I take some offense to, man. You guys know how I feel about haters. I always think they're pathetic in every single sense. I don't care if you're British, I don't care where you're from, man. But these British low IQ people are watching this documentary without much source material. They're not really shown as to why men are going through these lengths to look more attractive, the reason behind it. They're really not going into details very much. They're just trying to paint them out as like crazy incels, and it's like, no. This is why this has gone mainstream these days, man, because looks matter now more than ever before, baby. So get with the program, and if you're not, then it just kind of shows your lack of intelligence at this point. So let's break down this documentary. Without further ado, let's get it. Looksmaxxing is sick, actually. I think it's really cool. It's kind of a rebrand of general self-improvement. Like growing up, I had Alpha M and like all these other self-improvement creators, mostly Alpha M. I'm older than a lot of you guys realize. Like I was doing looksmaxxing content way before any of this stuff went mainstream, anything like that. So I know a thing or two, man. And looksmaxxing is essentially the rebrand of that self-improvement stuff with just more of an emphasis on looking more attractive. I feel like Alpha M, it was almost more body language, how to present yourself in public, how to speak, but the looksmaxxing, it's more heavily centered just on looks and nothing else, which you cannot really argue too much is kind of the most important thing right now. Now, if you are an OG on the channel, you've heard me talk about looks maxing, everything, you know that I always have this philosophy. Now, this actually really irritated me because I said this probably 5 different times throughout their interviews for this documentary, is that looks is going to open the door. Girls see the prettiest, the sexiest door they've ever seen, they want to open that. They want to open it big time, but whenever they open that door, what's inside the door? That's the question I've always been asking. What is inside your door? Have you traveled all over the world? Have you started businesses from scratch without the help of anybody? Like, do you have personality? Do you have life that you have lived that is gonna intrigue the hell out of these girls? Or is it just an empty, hollow room? Now, if you're young, you have an excuse. Let's say you're like less than 22, which a lot of looks maxers are. You still have time to get this life experience, but you just got to know, as you get older, you can't fully rely on your looks. It's only going to bring them into the door, but then you got to have some of the secret sauce behind the door that makes them stick around, man. Like I said with the intro to this video, looks maxing is the response to the modern world. If women refuse to date men shorter than 6 feet tall, they will only date guys who look like Henry Cavill and male models, at least through these dating apps. Then man, what is going to be their response? You know, let's say 100 years ago, the man who's going to get the most girls is going to be the guy who's the strongest, most powerful warrior. He takes care of the tribe. He's going to be plowing through all the girls with any single choice he wants to. Now, it's the most attractive man. It's the Chads who are just plowing through any single girl that they want to. And guys are trying to get to this level. And so obviously looks maxing is going to be the answer that these guys have come up with. Let's talk about the first guy. This guy, his name is Flynn. His face is covered. But according to the website and then the comments section, apparently he's a Chad and he mugs most of the people. I don't even know what he looks like. Flynn, if you're watching this, DM me, man. I'm kind of curious who you are at this point, but we got a couple of things. First of all, man, you got to avoid those diuretics. The illegal diuretics and just any even mild diuretics I think are BS to begin with, especially because you could be chugging 4 to 8 liters of water every single day with a low carbohydrate diet, and after about a week, it's going to have a very similar result as if you were on the diuretics, but your body is actually in a very healthy state, flushing the water and making it to where you're not holding any water, because carbohydrates are the #1 thing that holds water within the body. So if you don't have any carbs, you don't have any water in the body, that will hollow out your cheeks more than anything else. Now, Flynn has an obsession with the website, looksmax.org. I've always said to try to avoid the website as it has a lot of doomers, a lot of negativity. It's not going to be very good for the mental health. Now, they show another guy, I kind of completely forget this guy's segment, but he tries to overanalyze the interviewer's face, tries to fix it, and he actually makes it less attractive, because one thing I've always said, guys, having some imperfections, not having that perfect face, can actually sometimes be very charismatic, very sexy. So this is why you never want to overly obsess with the looks. Do everything you can to optimize them, but don't obsess. Reading those comments, you know what the #1 thing that upsets me is like, how much negativity there is towards looks maxing. What is looks maxing? Looks maxing is literally just the act of looking more attractive. Like, I'm a guy, okay, let's say I'm a 5 out of 10. I want to look good. I want to get more girls. So what am I going to do? Oh, I'm going to looks max. I'm going to lose body fat. I'm going to get the hollow cheeks, the jawline. I'm going to try to fix my skin. I'm going to fix my hair. I'm going to fix my hair. I'm going to do everything possible to look more attractive. It doesn't have to be obsessive. It doesn't have to be anything unhealthy. How is it any different than women? Women are treated better the more attractive they are in society. And women are constantly trying to get more attractive. They're always doing surgeries. They're the ones obsessed with skincare, hair care, when men were literally the ones to invent all of this stuff. So my question to you is, why is it toxic and narcissistic when a man wants to look max, but when a woman wants to do it, it's perfectly fine. It's feminine. It's all natural. When I really don't even think looks maxing is feminine, man. Wanting to look more attractive and getting more girls kind of sounds like the most masculine thing you can do. I thought this part of the documentary was funny. He told me to get on my phone because I was actually making a vlog and pretend like I'm on it vlogging whenever he comes up. And then he tries to phrase it as if I'm just like some narcissist taking selfies. He literally says taking selfies when literally, dude, you told me to get on the phone. I thought that was disrespectful. And the next thing is, he starts saying I've got soft hands, which I think is a compliment. It's good to have soft hands. It's good to have soft hands as a man, especially in 2024. That means you're not out in the field plowing stuff, working. But on the contrary to that, I also have pretty big calluses, man, always. But soft hands as a man is typically a term to disrespect another man, basically trying to call him passive aggressively soft. Ooh, he's kind of a pussy, things like this. I don't like it. I do not like that part. Then he tries to make a point about how, like, I call myself a Chad or my followers call me a Chad. I've never called myself a Chad. My followers call me a Chad. Other people obviously talk crap, say, oh, he's just a mid-tier normie. I don't really care, man. I know my own life. I know the responses I get from women. You guys see the response videos I make just walking down the street. Like those 30-second clips, for example, that's just like a minute of walking down the street. So you gotta do some math here and there, man. This one's interesting. I'm not gonna throw you under the bus completely, Ben, but you did not do your research on me very much. Whenever he was interviewing me, which lasted pretty much for an hour, I could tell that most of the questions he was coming up with was literally from my last YouTube video. Like a singular video, he kept kind of coming to for questions. So I think the night before, he just watched like one 10-minute Austin Wayne video, and he tried to generalize my content. When I have nearly 1,000 videos talking about self-improvement, about how to improve every aspect of your life, not just looks. I've talked about mental health, spirituality. I've talked about sex, relationships, family, drugs. I've talked about everything at this point, man. So if you want to generalize me just by saying, oh, I only talk about looks, that's on you. You really don't know the content. I am glad, though, during this documentary, they included my Tinder stat to where ever since Tinder was introduced, the amount of incels has tripled, which is actually very, very insane. Then they show a clip of me just whenever I was overweight, growing up fat, which just shows a little bit of pretense to the type of man I became. And then, yeah, during this interview, this was whenever I talked about the personality behind the door, this analogy, literally over and over and over again, making the point that looks don't matter, but he didn't include any of that. He just made it seem very vain, just, oh, this guy only cares about looks, and his subscribers only care about looks as well. Which brings us into the next segment where me and some subscribers of mine were all playing basketball. We're playing around, shooting hoops. One person they interview is Felix. He's one of my subscribers. And Felix told me, he reached out to me. He said, Austin, I remember I was talking about how looksmaxxing got me my first girlfriend and that I will never put looksmaxxing above my relationship with God, things like this. And then in the documentary, they make it seem like he only cares about looksmaxxing. He's single, he doesn't care about anything, and he's trying to get girls when he's not even trying to do that, man. He already looksmaxxed to get the girl, and now he's just appreciative of it, and he sees the importance of looks. Then the rest of the basketball scene went pretty well. They spoke with my boy Spencer for a little bit just about looksmaxxing once again, kind of the same thing as Felix. And then I was actually scouted, they did not get this in the documentary, but by a modeling agency actually at this basketball scene, which I thought was kind of funny. And then there was actually another model with my same agency at the basketball court. I went over to him, said what's up, and so that guy was pretty chill to meet as well. But yeah, man, overall, it was actually really sick to meet my actual subscribers in person. Like, I'm creating this content, like pushing this stuff out there, but actually seeing like how it's impacted someone's life, like right in front of me, that is one of the coolest things in the world, man. So if you're watching this, you gotta know, I love you, always, with all my heart. All right, then we take on the streets, basically asking girls if looks matters, like how tall the guy has to be, and obviously the conclusion was most of these girls say, oh, height doesn't matter, looks doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. And first of all, if you actually want an accurate interview for this, the girls need to be drunk. That is going to be the prerequisite because they're a lot more truthful whenever they do these interviews. But second of all, there is something known as virtue signaling. So you never want to seem like a bad person because it seems very vain, it seems very superficial if you just come out and say, oh, I only like handsome guys, I only like tall guys. You yourself want to seem like you've got personality, you've got charisma to you. So you say this question, you're like, oh, no, looks don't matter, I only care about the personality. Like, what type of guy is he really? Like, that's not what you care about, man, because the statistics show us the truth. There's truth in all the stats. The stats tell us everything. The stats tell us that since Tinder was introduced, there's 3 times the amount of incels, 50% of relationships come from the dating apps, and the majority of obviously all these matches, everyone is gonna be your looks, your looks, your looks, your looks. How attractive are you? Not even that. If you meet someone in person, you meet a coworker, they're gonna stalk your social media, they're gonna stalk your Instagram. How does he look on Instagram? What kind of stuff does he post? Your looks is going to be the door to everything in 2024. And if you don't take it seriously, you're not taking your life seriously. Like, imagine going out into the world. You know that there is this one thing that will give you an edge on everybody. Simply looking more attractive. You don't care. You don't want to put any effort in. You don't want to get to 10% body fat. You don't want to fix your fashion. You don't want to improve your posture when you're walking out in public. You are perfectly fine with your greasy, oily, acne-filled, disgusting skin. You're fine with it. You know that it turns people off, but it's okay because confidence is what matters. Get out of here, man. Like, we know the importance of looks. It's like everybody is in a mass denial about it. The better you look in society, the more life opportunities you will have. Then there's a scene with the guy who gets limb lengthening. You guys know how I feel about limb lengthening. If you want it, I'm not going to shame you like the people in the documentary, the people in the comments section are shaming the limb lengthening, but I will never, ever, ever tell you to do limb lengthening because I am not an advocate of limb lengthening. I think just focus on making more money at that point, and God gave you health, man. God gave you health. You have perfectly good. You can walk, you can sprint, do everything. Why jeopardize that? I think that's disrespectful to what was given to you to begin with. Now there's a scene where me and my client Jaden, I've been training him in person for about 2 to 3 years. I've trained with him in person for the first time since we started working together. Now, they make a point about how I say I'm a certified trainer, almost in a sarcastic voice, as if I'm not an American Council of Exercise certified trainer, which is kind of weird to put in the documentary. It feels disrespectful. And then they put my old price of how much I used to charge like 3 years ago, when it's completely different nowadays. It's like 5 times the price. But I find it very odd how they try to include that to begin with. Now, this is when the documentary gets weird, and this is probably the part that I feel the most disrespected with. So it kind of goes off with just me and Jaden training, everything's fine, just nothing weird. And then all of a sudden, the interviewer, Ben, the owner of this company, he starts talking about feminism. And he's like, what do you guys think men and women's role in society is? All this stuff. And basically, my conclusion was that women can do whatever they want to. Men can do whatever we want to, but at the end of the day, biologically, we are different. So you can't say our roles are the exact same in society because that's not true, and that's just a personal opinion. This has nothing to do with looksmaxxing, any of the pills, anything. This is just my personal opinion, and I am a free thinker, man. I'm always going to share my personal opinion, so I really don't care. So men and women are different. Women should be more feminine, men should be more masculine, more so in the sense that it's our job to protect and provide. That is it. And I don't even go into the woman's role. All I say is that it's the men's job to protect and provide, which if you disagree with that, that is feminine in itself. If you don't want to protect your woman, that's not very masculine. If you don't want to provide for her, make sure that she has enough, make sure that we have enough as a family, then we're good. He even asked me, like, is your woman allowed to work, all this stuff? I'm like, yeah, she can work if she wants to, but it's my job as the man to provide. Simple as that. Now, I actually thought this was pretty funny. He ended like this little segment by saying, it starts with self-improvement and it turns into misogyny. No one seems to know what misogyny means in 2024. I'm tired of these BS documentary crews trying to call everything misogynistic. First of all, like I said, this has nothing to do with looksmaxxing. This is my own personal belief. Second of all, saying that men and women are biologically different, which they are, that's not misogyny. Misogyny is hatred towards a gender for their specific gender. That is it. That is what misogyny is. Where is hatred when my job is to love and provide for you, protect you? How does that sound hateful in any sort of way? Oh, I promise to always provide and protect you, like pretty much 99.999% of wedding vows. Does this not sound familiar? So it just sounds weird how they try to twist my words to make me come off as misogynist, which you guys already, you know, if you're a subscriber. Then they try to make it to where I take advantage of my subscribers. They're like, oh, he just takes advantage of his subscribers and he's showing them the false path to what it means to be a man. That's what I'm doing, Ben, to my subscribers. So this one, we have a couple of different takes that we can come at this with. First of all, that is completely and utterly disrespectful, and that in itself really made me lose all respect for Ben Zan, the guy who did this documentary, to just come out with a random jab like that. I take my time to fly to freaking London, spend a week there filming with you guys, getting content, getting my subscribers. I'm the freaking face of your documentary, and you're gonna disrespect me like this. But first of all, we cannot really take masculinity from a guy that we don't know anything about on Channel 4 versus me, who once again, you guys really don't know a lot about. At the end of the day, what I believe is going to be masculine is going to be the man who does what he wants to at the end of the day. Number one, and number two, I think the man who succeeds the most with women is actually going to be the most masculine man. This is actually my belief system, because we go back 100 years ago. Where does this belief of masculinity actually come from? It comes from the man being big, strong, and warrior-like because he got the most girls. Who gets the most girls these days? It's going to be the tall, pretty boys, the Chads who slay and get pretty much anybody he wants to. So if you want to judge a man based off his masculinity these days, I would go based off of yearly salary and how good he is with girls. Because whoever is more successful with that is going to be a more masculine man. And if I'm teaching young men how to look more attractive, get more girls, make more money, I think that's pretty damn masculine, but I don't have to defend myself. You guys see the results. Now, it ends with this young boy. He calls himself Adonis. He shows his abs like on Omegle to get female validation. I find this segment very odd, and overall, I'm not going to support it, but I'm sure there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that he was talking about that I don't know about, you guys don't know about, so I'm not going to judge. I just thought it was a weird part to include. Let's conclude with my thoughts on the documentary. So obviously, I kind of like actually that they show the more darker, intense parts of looksmaxxing, the pills, stuff like this, because it can get really dark, man, and that's what I want to be the antithesis of. That's what this channel is, man. Being the positive side of looksmaxxing, showing you guys that improving your looks, even just a little bit, will significantly enhance every single aspect of your life. So screw the haters, screw Channel 4, screw all these people saying looksmaxxing is gay, looksmaxxing. They're stupid, man. Honestly. If you cannot look at basic statistics these days and realize that looking better gives you a better life, then you are slow. You're not very intelligent. That's the truth of the matter. So if Channel 4 wants to disagree with looksmaxxing, if all the commenters, if all the haters on the channel want to disagree with it, I don't care, because I know I'm right, my subscribers know that I'm right, and I've got nothing to prove. There's going to be a lot more looksmaxxing content coming, and we're all going to become Chads, man. We're all going to ascend. But overall, I appreciate the opportunity. It's more exposure for me. I'm getting recognized out in public, which is pretty sick. So yeah, I'm so grateful for the opportunity. It is all good. We're all good. So that's it. Subscribe if you know. I love you with all my heart. Peace.